Good morning, this is Reed Stout from Rex Game Studios, and I want to take a moment to discuss the potential severe weather outbreak that could happen this coming Wednesday in the Central Plains. What you're seeing here is the Day 3 severe weather outlook that's provided by SPC. And as you can see here very clearly, there's a moderate risk that's already been issued from southwestern Oklahoma all the way into southeastern Kansas. And anytime you get a moderate risk, as I'm sure you've probably heard before, 3 days out, that's a pretty good indication there's a large outbreak that could be developing at this point. If we were to look at the probabilities that they put out during this time, you can see that there's a greater than 45% chance of severe weather that might occur at any point and 25 miles out from that point in that region. Now that's pretty high for this, and in addition to that, they've also included a significant outlook, which means that the severe weather that does occur could be very significant, which means the potential for large tornadoes, strong damaging winds, very high winds, and very large hail in this area. So the potential is high. Now the question is, what are the surface conditions going to be at this point? And that's pretty much going to dictate where and the severe weather is going to look at. Based upon the outlook here, I would say that SPC is probably agreeing more with the NAM than they are the GFS, and we're going to see that in just a second here. First thing I want to look at is the NAM surface, and then this is the 06Z run of the NAM for 18Z on Wednesday. And as you can see, there is a kind of a boundary that lays across southeastern Kansas down into southwestern Oklahoma. Not a very strong surface low at this point. It's still above 1,000 millibars. There's kind of like a wind shift line here. Obviously, there's strong southeast flow at the surface. Not super strong, about 20 knots or greater, but that's pretty decent. So there's definitely an influx of low-level moisture at this point. You compare this though to the GFS, and it's almost night and day. What you see on the GFS is a very powerful sub 1,000 millibar low that's located over southeastern Colorado, the panhandles of Oklahoma and Texas. A boundary obviously that extends, probably a warm front that extends straight out from there across the Ohio River all the way into the Ohio River. A dry line that extends south of there, and a cold front that extends back into Old Mexico. Strong south to southeast flow at the surface here. However, the stronger winds are coming into the southwestern portion of the low here. So there's definitely a difference here at the surface, and that's going to be key to where the severe weather looks or develops down the road. Let's look at the dew points at the surface at this time. The NAM here at this time again shows a strong boundary here associated with that wind shift line that bisects Oklahoma here. The dew points are well into the 60s, possibly mid 60s. The 70 dew points are all the way up here into Illinois, with a boundary that extends all the way up into the upper Ohio Valley here. You compare that to the dew points with the GFS, and it's clearly different that you see that the dew points extend further west into include all of Oklahoma, portions of western panhandle of Texas, obviously a little bit higher north, and into even northeastern portions of Colorado. So you could potentially have severe weather that all the way extend into northeastern Colorado, even though the dew points are kind of low here because of the curvature with the surface winds here and where the moisture boundary is located here. You could have severe weather, according to the GFS, that could extend all the way into that region. Whereas with the NAM, if we look at the NAM again here, you see something completely different. There's very little dew points. The dew points are very low here. So severe weather is going to be more concentrated in the boundary region that's along that wind shift line there at the surface. Now, if we look at the lifted indices, let's look at the NAM's lifted indices at that time. You can see the lifted indices are pretty strong. They're actually stronger out here in the Ohio Valley, and then a little bit down here in the southwest, but a portion of Oklahoma and along that wind shift line. But it's not, crazy here. It's more crazy out here into central Texas here, but nothing super. I mean, it's definitely severe weather potential. But once you get into Kansas, boy, there's nothing whatsoever at all. You compare that to the GFS, and it's night and day. I mean, you've got really strong lifted indices out here into the west here, down to -8, -9 values, and then into the Ohio Valley around Paducah. You've got a pretty strong -9 lifted indice here. So you've got some definite instability along the boundaries here. So severe weather, according to the GFS here, could extend all the way from eastern portions of Kentucky to the Triple Point, which would be located in central or southeastern and southwestern Kansas, southeastern Colorado, and then straight down from there along the dry line. So you look at the NAM, you look at the GFS, and there's definitely a difference here of where this potential severe weather could occur. Obviously, SPC is probably leaning more towards the NAM. Let's look at the winds at the low levels and see what kind of low-level jet we have here. You look at the NAM, and you have a really powerful low-level jet of 50+ knots extending all the way from, well, just off the Gulf of Mexico all the way into southern Minnesota here. So the low-level flow, the low-level jet is definitely in place there, and maybe a little offset from where the instability is. Kind of, to me, anywhere from Wichita to Tulsa looks to have the better rotating storm structure if you go by what the NAM is. Now, if you go by the GFS at 850 millibars, you see that low-level jet shifted a little bit further to the west. All of central Oklahoma is within that, including southeastern and south central Kansas. Again, really strong low-level jet off the Gulf of Mexico, pretty perpendicular to the pretty parallel to the dry line, and you know, definitely showing a potential for strong rotating low-level inflow to the storms there. The winds are not quite as strong as the NAM at this point, but that doesn't mean that it's not strong enough. There's definitely a potential there. Different than what we had with the previous storm from the surface structure goes. So the surface structure at this point looks a lot better for severe weather than the previous storm at this point, whether you look at the NAM or you look at the GFS. Now let's look at the GFS the NAM at 250 millibars. You can see a very strong southerly jet here, a subtropical jet of 120 knots, and a good northerly branch jetting off to the northeast here. Oklahoma, Kansas are in the very high defluent flow of this kind of a jet, which makes it very conducive for severe weather and long track type storms at this point. It is a positive tilt trough, according to the NAM here, which is very similar to last week's storm, but the thing that was missing from last week's storm was the strong subtropical jet. There we have a very strong subtropical jet, which puts Oklahoma and portions of northern Texas actually in a strong entrance region of the jet, a strong southeast, strong southwest exit region of the jet. So you got very good positive vorticity here that's going to bring up a good diffluent flow, which could pull that energy up from the surface. Now, if you compare that to the GFS is a little bit different here, and really the only thing that's different here, it's more of a kind of a positive trough that's going neutral. But again, we still have a strong subtropical jet here in Kansas and Oklahoma are still in the very positive defluent flow here. So as far as upper level conditions go, the upper level conditions are very similar. It's the surface area that we're going to have to really watch for the future of this potential severe weather outbreak. It's clear there's going to be severe weather on Wednesday. How strong and intense that severe weather is, obviously I think there is going to be that. We just don't know where it's going to be. As we get closer, we'll keep you posted. We thank you for watching, and we'll talk to you later.